Hi, I'm Paul Nation, and I've taught and trained teachers in Indonesia, Thailand, the United States of America, Japan, Finland, and of course New Zealand. Today I want to talk about prepared talks, or talking what we call monologues, where just one person is talking for an extended time on the same topic. Let's first look at how this fits into the four strands. Speaking fits into the meaning-focused output strand of a course, and part of the meaning-focused output strand would be speaking monologues. Other parts of the meaning-focused output strand for speaking would be conversation, where learners talk in pairs or small groups with each other. The reason I keep coming back to the four strands is because having an idea of how to balance the opportunities for learning in a language course can make it very easy for teachers to see whether they're really covering all the things they need to cover in a language course. You can use the four strands principle to answer questions like, how do you teach listening and speaking? How do you teach reading? How do you teach writing? The answer to questions like that, very simply, is the four strands. So how do you teach listening and speaking? Well, a listening and speaking course should provide the opportunity for meaning-focused input through listening. So that means that about 1/8 of the total course time should involve learners listening, trying to understand messages which are being communicated to them. And about 1/8 of the course time, half of the meaning-focused output strand, should be devoted to speaking. And that should involve the learners doing speaking in groups, in pairs, and also speaking individually, but speaking where they are genuinely trying to communicate a message. About 1/4 of a course should involve language-focused learning, and that means that learners should learn the pronunciation of words in the language. They should learn vocabulary, which they need to use in listening and speaking. They should learn useful collocations and phrases and deliberately study these. They should also learn grammatical features, which will help them in their speaking and in their listening. About 1/4 of the time in a well-balanced course should be focusing on fluency. And the fluency strand needs to exist in 4 different parts for each of the 4 skills of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So that means that in a listening and speaking course, about 1/8 of the time should be spent on developing listening fluency, and about 1/8 of the time should be spent on developing speaking fluency. So when we ask, how do you teach listening and speaking? Then the answer really is, we have to be able to give attention to listening and speaking across the 4 strands of meaning-focused input, meaning-focused output, language-focused learning, and fluency development. If we look at teaching, we can see that teaching is really only involved in the language-focused learning strand. And in the strands of input, output, and fluency development, we are focusing on the learners actually using the language to communicate. And when they do this, they will make errors, they will stumble, they will have some difficulties, but that doesn't matter. They should just focus on using the language to their best of their ability at that particular time. And it's really important that about 3/4 of the time in a language course is really given to using the language for genuine communicative purposes. And about 1/4 of the time is focusing on the language as language features, such as vocabulary, pronunciation, spelling, grammar, and so on. But let's get back to listening and speaking. So today we're going to look at prepared speaking. In a prepared speaking activity, the teacher gives the learners a particular topic or gets the learners to choose a topic that they're really interested in. And then they work on preparing a talk on that particular topic. They could prepare a written version first, but it's really important that when they actually give the talk, they don't read what they've prepared, and they don't just fully memorize what they've prepared, but they use at the best, they use some cue notes to help them recall the main ideas that they want to present. There are lots of useful topics that learners can focus on with doing prepared talks. These topics can include things like reducing the use of plastic, cell phone use while driving, electronic books, is sugar really bad for you, are cats bad for bird life, do we need vitamin pills? There's a whole range of topics that may be interesting for learners. Ideally, the teacher needs to make sure that the topics are relevant to the learner's life and relevant to the uses of English that they want to make when they gain proficiency in English. So it's a good idea then if learners choose their particular topic and then work away at preparing for that topic and presenting it. When getting ready for doing a prepared talk, it's very helpful to use the pyramid procedure. So that means that the learners work on preparing their talk individually and gather information that they want to talk about. Then the next thing that they can do is to present their talk to just one other person, just their partner in the classroom. And the partner can give them a little bit of feedback about their talk, and by presenting it, they can get a feeling for what parts they're good at presenting and what parts they're not good at presenting. Then, having done that, they can give their presentation again to their partner, another repetition of it, and get a little bit more feedback. And when they feel ready, they can then move up the next step of the pyramid, that is to group work, and present their talk to a group of 3 or 4 people. Now, one way of turning this into quite a large project is to make it not only for talking, but also for writing and for reading. So when learners work on their topic, they can go and gather information through English by looking on the web, by reading newspapers, by reading articles. And each week they can come back to their own small group of 5 or 6 people and talk about the information that they've found that week on their particular project topic. While they are doing this, they should also be keeping notes so that they can then present a written assignment at the end of a few weeks. After they present the written assignment, they can then also present their spoken, prepared talk either to the whole class, or if there are a lot of people in the class, they might present their talk to just a smallish group of people. The idea behind this is that learners gradually build up a lot of information about the topic they've chosen so that they become very familiar with the vocabulary, the kinds of expressions used, and are able to deal with these when they read, to be able to produce them when they speak, and to be able to use them in their writing. The outcome for such a project would be a written assignment that the teacher gives feedback on to the learners, but it should also be a talk that the learners present to others in the class. This kind of activity is really turning the speaking into an experience task, because what it does is to allow learners to develop a lot of knowledge and experience about a particular topic, and then draw on that knowledge and experience in their speaking and their writing. Such projects can be used with learners at most levels of proficiency. Even learners at rather low levels of proficiency can be given a fairly simple topic where they can go and gather information and then make a very short presentation of just a few minutes, perhaps, on that particular topic. At more advanced levels, we could expect the presentations to be quite long and quite demanding. Here are the steps that you can follow in getting the learners to work on the project. The first step is choosing a topic. So the learners should choose a topic that interests them. The second step is to gather information about the topic. And it's really important that this information is gathered from a range of different sources, from books, from the internet, from films, from radio, from other people, so that they get a wide range of different viewpoints and a wide range of different facts from different people on the same topic. The third step is to keep notes and to organize those notes under headings so that the framework for a piece of writing and for a piece of speaking starts to develop quite early on in the information gathering. The fourth step is reporting on progress to a small group. This step is in there so that the learners don't delay doing the project and leave it till the last minute or the night before they have to do their presentations. This means the reason for reporting to small groups is so that the work on the project continues over quite a long period of time, several weeks. And the work is being done bit by bit instead of a big rush at the end. The fifth step is for the learner to write an assignment on the topic. It's usually easier to write about something than to talk about it, so the writing can come first. The teacher can give feedback on the writing, and this feedback can help improve the final piece of writing, but can also improve the talk that the learners later have to give. Step number 6 is to prepare a talk based on the assignment, and to practice this talk with other learners in the pyramid procedure that I've suggested. The seventh step, of course, is then presenting the talk. Getting learners to do a project is really like teaching English through the curriculum, or what we call content-based instruction. When learners focus on one particular topic area and keep having to deal with that topic area through listening and reading and speaking and writing and listening, then their work becomes very easy because they develop knowledge of the content and they develop knowledge of the language which is associated with that content. The technical vocabulary of a subject area makes up a large proportion of the running words in that subject area. And when learners stick within the same subject area or on the same topic for a reasonable length of time, then they can become very fluent and very proficient at dealing with that particular topic and the language associated with it. When teachers jump from one topic to another and each lesson contains a different topic, there's a lot of new vocabulary for learners to learn, and that vocabulary is often not repeated in other lessons when learners are dealing with other topics. So it's really useful to make a part of a language learning course involve a sustained piece of work that learners work on over a reasonably long period of time so they can get very proficient with the language associated with that particular area. If the topic is one that is relevant to their later needs, then this is an extra bonus. Learners should get feedback about their work on the topic, because this improves the topic and keeps them motivated to keep working on it. They can get feedback in the groups that they meet with each week to report on their progress with the topic. They can get feedback from the teacher about the language and the content of the topic that they've been working on. They can also get feedback from the audience that they make their presentation, their oral presentation to, after they've made the presentation, through questions and through comments from the audience. Feedback is an important part of learning, and it's useful to try and build it in to activities like prepared talks.